Hello, hello. Good afternoon from here, or good morning, depending on where you are. Just going to do a few of our checks. So just checking for sound, just checking for visual, just to check everything is okay. Yeah, hope you're all well. Yeah, that all seems to be fine. So, little demonstration, this one here. This is a sort of almost a last minute request. Bit of a late in the day request this one was. And it's a bespoke spoon. But again, we're demonstrating different carvings, same processes, but we're demonstrating those carvings there. Hello, Tommy. Glad you could join us. Hope all is well. Hope you're well this week. Yeah, we're going to be demonstrating, let me get this right. It's a lotus flower, this one here. And as you can see, we've got lots of different layers, so lots of different levels. Hello to the carver too. Sounds okay. And so is the picture. Good, good. Thanks for the feedback, because yeah, we've had that over at different times where we've had issues with the sound and we've had issues with the picture. So glad everything's coming across well. So what we're going to do, we're going to focus on this lotus carving, and then we're going to finish off. We're going to try to get through as much of the carving of the spoon, because I do believe that it's wanted for tomorrow. Am I right in thinking that? Because we've got Thomas the Woodcarver here with us.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Pranang da. And yeah, we're going to focus on this. It is a lotus flower, isn't it, this one?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's going to be the main focus. And we're carving in oak.
It's a situation, actually, to explain as well. That
we don't want to give up too much.
yeah, but what's happening?
Yeah.
Because of the COVID, you know, people put off their weddings.
Yeah.
And now there's been a sudden sort of...
Well, yeah, because things are starting to open up a little bit, there's arrangements are being made and things like that, so people are doing stuff while they can. So that's why we've had a bit of a request, and we're almost doing this as a bit of to help out a little bit, because we got a bit of a waiting list altogether, which is good. And wouldn't say we're not behind, but anybody looking for sort of bespoke work, it's not straightforward to turn it around. We're sort of, as you know yourselves, you're probably doing quite individual pieces, and it does take time to design and hand carve and handcraft these different things. So I'm starting off by marking out the different stop cuts, and you're within that then trying to get the levels that we're going to be having for the different parts of the flower, basically. I have carved this previously, but when I've done it previously, it's much bigger. When I've done this, is the smaller. It's much smaller, this one, than I've ever carved it before. We did a very, very large Lovespoon, and I do believe it featured to a degree on one of our videos about a year ago, because it turned out it was a bit of a disaster, to be honest, where I messed it up. I actually broke the spoon. I actually dropped it on the floor and had to start the whole thing again. So what happens when it goes wrong? Well, we try and sort it out, but if not, you've got to start the whole thing again. So yeah, but when we've done it before, much bigger version that we've done. So as I'm carving that, my initial thoughts is this is a bit of oak, a little bit harder than some of the other bits of oak that we've carved, but that's only the initial cut, so might just be a little bit of a tough part of the grain here. The rest of the wood may be a little bit easier, a little bit softer to work in. I'll throw it open to everyone as well. What are you working on at the moment? Any interesting projects? I've seen the carver. I've seen on social media doing an interesting project. More of a sort of relief carving, I would call it. Yeah, coming on really nicely. Looking like a nice job. Check that out on Instagram. MC Carvings, if you want to see how that is progressing. But a nice a nice project that you're working on. Same though, Tommy and everybody else, what you're working on, what projects have you got in the offing at the moment? Now I'm going to use, for this one here, what I'm doing, I'm going to carve more on then the one side and then do the other side, because I've got the details of the picture on the one side that I can follow. So by keeping the details on the one side and following the others, then, you know, it just helps out. And something that I probably haven't used in a demonstration before, I'm just doing that little bit of detail there, just indenting it a little bit. I'm using a V-shaped gouge. Something you don't see me using very often, but I do use them for a job like this, where we're just adding just a little bit of detail. Now, just to demonstrate to you, I know I'm carving a little bit towards myself, but I'm going to bevel these leaves. So as I'm doing this, probably similar to yourselves, you're sort of trying to visualize the lotus. You're trying to visualize how it looks, and I'm almost sort of thinking of it sitting almost in the water, and so I'm just trying to create the effect of how I see it. And we're trying to create almost like a 3D image, a three-dimensional image, but we're working in 2 dimensions. We've gone there, Tommy. I've been sorting the electrics out on my camper van. So you're joining us here in Wales, heading to Anglesey. Oh, I hope you have a nice week there. We're right at the opposite end of the country. We're down in the southwest, and you're heading to the northwest there. But I hope you have a nice week. You may see a few love spoons around if you go in the different shops. Unfortunately, not all of those spoons are always carved here in Wales, because they're not always carved, to be honest with you, as well. But our own, as you know, they are. But the tradition, as it sort of became more commercial, has encouraged other methods, shall we call them, to be used. So again, with this central one, I'm just going to use that skewer gouge just to take out, it's just to add a little bit of detail to that leaf, just like so. So now we've got the detail. I can copy the detail from the carving on the opposite side just to finish off on this side here. So that is the bottom, the bottom of the lotus flower. I think as well, this bit, it is carving a little bit more easily. So I think that was just a tough bit of grain that we started off with. So we're just shaping that as we go. Yeah, so you're busy working with electrics, something that we generally avoid. Not something that I've worked a great deal with myself. So you can just start to see the bottom of our lotus flower just taking shape. And other things then that are going on in the workshop today. You may be able to hear it in the background. Thomas the woodcarver, he's currently sharpening the gouges for us. Important job to do, and something that he stays on top of for us. Keeping those gouges nice and sharp so they're cutting at their best. Now we're also just going to bevel it again. Should probably be turning that round in the vise, and I am just struggling just to get in there. Yeah, we can just about do it. Just like so. And again, we use this gouge just to skewer a little bit of detail on that leaf. So I think that's the bottom part. And now we're going to concentrate on all of these other stop cuts. This is quite a bit of, it's a flower that's got quite a little bit of detail on, but fun to do, something different. We always like doing something different. And it's good as a design then, because we've got the rose going up the top. So we've got quite a lot of detail in those 2 symbols. So our lotus has got detail, but also the rose has got detail.
You can try that one now, Dave. You can show everybody that one.
Let's have a little look.
But be careful with it, because if you can show people what I've done, it was pitted.
Yeah.
It's an old Addis chisel.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know if you show it very close up, you can show the people the black where it was pitted. I wouldn't normally touch the inside, but because it was so badly pitted,
trying to tidy it up and sort it out.
I've started taking some of the
yeah, let's have a go with it.
Where it's pitted.
So that's what happens at different times. We bought different gouges, and because of the age of them, they end up pitted, and they end up with you know, different things that need sorting out.
Chisel when it was new.
Yeah.
But we are now bringing it back to where it should.
We're bringing it back to its best.
How did it cut then?
Beautifully. Yeah, working well. I may have another little go with that now. It's just this a bit too long for doing these leaves. Are they leaves on the lotus, or are they petals? Petals, I suppose, are they?
I suppose they're petals, yeah.
Yeah, I always think so. Now the lotus, I've got an idea in my head of it being in water. Why have I got this idea of it sort of being
almost like a lily, isn't it?
I got this idea of a lily, I think, in my head. But it's not a million miles away in its appearance, no?
No.
So I'm going to end up carving away. I'm going to carve a lily. Oh, who else we got with us here? Hello, Lindsay. Great to have you with us. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. Let us know what you're working on yourself. Let us know if you've got any questions or anything. Always great to hear from everyone. Yeah, so we're just going to carry on shaping and getting all of the different levels to our lotus. And yeah, it is. It's always nice carving something different. This morning now we had a couple came in and we were designing a Lovespoon that had they wanted the English lion on there and the Welsh dragon. What else was going on there? Oh, a fox glove, an eternity sign, and a heart as well on there. So yeah, always good fun carving and doing different things. Yeah, Thomas Wood Carvers busy working in the back there, so he's going to just pull the door. So we're just going to turn it round in the vise. And the first thing, I'm finishing a house address sign in relief. Oh, fantastic. We used to do a lot of house signs. And then it basically, before the history with ourselves really, is that Dad, if you wanted a Lovespoon, you'd have to come in and work on your own. So that he stuck to that for a long, long time until 1994. So we used to make more different things, so house signs and you know, the dolls' houses, the clocks, the barometers, all those sorts of things that he was doing. But the sort of interest and the demand in the Lovespoon very much took over, and fewer people wanted to make their own spoon, and more people wanted a Lovespoon that we'd already carved, basically. So that's how we sort of evolved into the Lovespoon Workshop, and that's where there was the most interest. But yeah, good fun doing house signs, house numbers. We still, in our local area, as we're going round, I still see a few of the house signs that Dad made. Great projects, and you can use different styles, different fonts. Good one to do. And the only one with it then, see, as it became popular, the other sort of materials, and that's why we ended up stopping doing the house signs so much. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to concentrate on the one side of the design, and then turn it around, and then I'm going to concentrate on the other side. So I'm going to keep the paper detail on this side here, and then do all my carving on this side, and then add the detail. So it just means that I've got, because it's not a carving that I'm not doing regularly as such, it just means I've got those guidelines, those things to follow. Interesting stuff, Lindsay. So let us know, what wood are you working in? Always interesting to know the different woods that different people are using for the projects that they're doing. We used to make a lot of signs, we used to use a lot of Dutch elm, but then unfortunately in this country we had problems with Dutch elm disease. We used to use teak because it stands up well to the elements. So the nice darker wood, mahoganies as well we would use. So yeah, the house signs were a good project. And our own now, we still have our Lovespoon Workshop sign. That is a piece of teak, and we got a piece of rosewood for the house next door. But all good timbers for doing it in. So what I'm trying to do now is to create that effect that these petals or leaves, whichever way around it is, they sort of overlap. So similar when we go on to the rose is all those petals just overlapping one another, just folding in behind one another. I'll try and create like a similar effect in the lotus. So we're going to work on this outside one first, and then I'll turn it back around and I will add the detail. So it's always something, you know, when you're doing carvings like this, if you do your work on the one side and leave your paper, if you use a paper design like us, on the other side, if you do that, it just gives you those guidelines just to follow. So again, we're just going to do a little bit of detail, just like so. That's it. And then shaping that petal into there. And we're going to work our way in towards the center. So the next petal that we're working on is this one here. Drop in the level so it just goes in behind the inside petals. And the nice thing is doing these live streams, this is very much then, this is our day job really, this is what we do day to day. And it's great then to be able to share it with you all, as you can see the processes that we use. Basswood, yeah, linden. What we refer to in the UK here, we refer to that as flowering lime. So another name for it. Yeah, nice for carving. They refer to it as easy carving, but a good one to use. It's one that we use for quite a wide variety of different projects there, but we don't see, it's quite in demand because it's an easy carving wood, they refer to it as, because it's so in demand. We don't see a huge amount of it. It's because we're constantly using sort of wood in terms of recycling and reclaiming. Quite often it's wood that others are not wanting so much. So we're just going to go and just add a little bit of detail again to the center, just using that V-shaped gouge, 2 little lines, one either side. And now we've got this petal or leaf. We're going to drop the level down of this one. We're also going to just drop the level down of this one here, but that is going to be our top level, is this petal. So everything is going to fold in behind that one. So we're making progress. Whenever you're doing sort of projects like this, it's not an exact science. You're feeling your way as you go. And sometimes you might do a bit like this and then decide you want to do it slightly differently. Decide that you want to have, you know, perhaps you drop a leaf down and you feel that it would be better if that was in front, that sort of thing. There's no right or wrong. You feel your way as you're going along. So this leaf, because we've got this one on the inside, this just drops in behind the one that's inside it. And it's a process then where we cut it down and then re-carve the stop cut. So go back over that stop cut to give it a bit more definition. And then again, you can just carve it a little bit further down to give a little bit of extra depth to the carving itself. So the same as always, nothing too complicated. You're just using the different levels, you're using stop cuts and deciding which bits of the design you want to push down and which bits you want to bring up. Once we get all of our levels then, we will go on to adding the little bits of detail. And if we're happy with the one side, that's when we then go on to the other side and repeat the process. So we're going to change our gouge. I think we go for this one here, just to, because these leaves, we're going to push them behind that central portion. So I think we're going to have to redo our stop cut for the middle. So that's the thing, as we get in the different depth and the different levels, then we have to just go back over stop cuts just to reinforce them and just make them a little bit more prominent again. It's a bit like doing a jigsaw in some ways. As you do the one bit, then you can go back over the other bit. And when it comes to the design then, we're always sort of looking and thinking about the balance of the design, how to get it nicely balanced. So we knew that it's an approach that you take where there's two things that you're sort of thinking of. If I go smaller with our lotus, so you'll notice this part of the Lovespoon is actually wider than, say, for instance, up here. And the reason for that is if we go narrower, the smaller we start to go with this lotus flower, the more complicated it starts to become for us. So you reach a point and you think, right, we don't want to go any more small than that, otherwise the carving becomes extremely demanding. And then equally, you want it, you don't want it too wide that it becomes ridiculously out of proportion with the design. So that's what we're quite often doing when it comes to designing, is compromising between the intricacy of the carving and the size, where it doesn't become, what's the word, overbearing. Working this out this morning with a couple where you're trying to get nice angles on it and you're trying to get a nice finish, but also we don't want it to we don't want different parts to become out of proportion. But basically what I'm trying to get to is, when it comes to designing things, you want to be thinking about the different parts of the design in terms of you don't want a really wide section at the top and then a really narrow section at the bottom. As much as you can, you want nice balance throughout your design. So that's something that we always look for in our Lovespoon designs, is have we got a nice balance to them? And then when it comes to adding symbols, we think in different things. Sometimes you're thinking of practical things, like for instance, you know, birds tend to fly in the sky and fish swim in the sea. So you'd have a natural level for those different things. But then we also think about balancing up the design as well. So yeah, different things we're working on.
Have you finished it yet?
We have finished the one side. So that's what we're explaining, is what I've done. See, I've left the paper drawing on there so I can take little bits of detail from the one side and then transfer it over to the other side. But
It'll be an expensive job, this.
I'm not doing bad. How long have I been carving?
It's okay, I'm only winding it back.
The golden ratio. Well, you'll have to elaborate on that one. I'm not familiar with that one. Do you know the golden ratio?
The golden ratio?
Yeah. You'll have to enlighten us on that one.
No, we don't know that one.
I'm not familiar with that. But yeah, no, I've been explaining a little bit about the designing, how we try to balance it. You know, I was explaining with this one, it's a bit wider here because if we go smaller...
That's, I understand what...
You understand that one?
Well, I can understand it, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's... the carver will have to elaborate on that one for my benefit.
I can see where they're coming from. You see, you should have gone to school, Dave.
I should have, yeah, I should have done that.
You should have gone to school, I told you.
Should have gone once or twice.
Yeah, you learned all about ratios and things.
It's just getting that proportion.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with this one I was conscious of, is I couldn't go too small because I knew it was going to be quite an elaborate carving. So I felt that was as small as I could go without it becoming a very complex job to do.
It's looking quite...
I think we're not far off.
Yeah, it does a nice proportion.
We're not far off on that side there.
And of course, you know, on a serious note as well, the twist down the bottom here, because you tend to carve much deeper than I would.
Yeah.
So that when you carve, if I can point this chisel, when you carve that bit, yes.
Yeah.
When you carve that and you carve in there, there and there, you carve a little bit more deeply than I would.
Yeah.
And of course, I think we showed everybody the one that went wrong, didn't we?
Yeah, we have indeed.
You know, we can show that one that was, in fact, a similar one, only much bigger, Dave.
Yeah, that's right.
If I bring that in,
there we go.
that is the.
That was the one we broke.
That's the same carving. But you see the problem, if I can point it out, in comparison to, if I just move it back a tiny bit, you know, the distance from there to there.
It's too narrow.
It's thicker.
Too delicate.
You know? So, the design is very important from that point of view.
The easiest example I can think of is the spiral you see on a seashell. Interesting stuff. For the golden proportion. That's interesting stuff because it's... I think you get... As you're doing design, I think you do develop then a bit of an instinct for...
Yeah.
An eye for...
That's right, you're looking for... You have to bear in mind...
Proportions.
It's got to
look right, isn't it?
Aesthetically pleasing.
Oh yeah, that's that schooling you were talking about again, that is.
Yeah, aesthetically pleasing, and it also then has to be practical as well. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's right. Because it's interesting where, and then different people will see things to a different level. So for instance, we had a couple in today, and she's quite, she could obviously have quite a keen eye because we made a very minor adjustment, but for her it was significant. And that's, so different people have a different sort of tolerance for it, isn't it? But it did make a difference to the design.
The dragon and the lion facing the same way.
Well, that's another thing that we looked at. See, is that originally they were asking to turn the lion so it faced the other way, but it doesn't face the other way. So what we did, we put the heart between. Otherwise, everything was going to be facing in one direction.
Yeah. That isn't always the case, though, because you think on old, a lot of heraldry,
right?
You will see, lions facing one another.
Yeah.
So it isn't always. We don't always have to follow the.
No, I mean that's the nice thing with the Lovespoon is you don't always have to follow the rules and regs and things like that, but straight away if you design something and it's they put the English lion on there, for instance, and you turn it round the other way, the first person who looks at it is going to say, why have you turned the lion round the other way? So you do sort of think of these different things.
That's right.
There we are. So you can see we're just getting the shapes. We're well on with this one. As you hopefully it sort of comes across, and hopefully you can see As the carver said there, you develop an eye for it. Yeah, you do. Your eye does improve. We're well on now with this particular carving, but it just shows you how one individual carving, you know, how much attention then and concentration will go into it. So not the easiest to do, but hopefully the end results will be worth it. And it's a lot of, this is probably as many layers for a symbol that we're quite often working in. Let's try and count how many layers we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Yeah, probably about 7 or 8 different depths that we're working to. So more than what we are used to doing. Let's get a little bit of sandpaper in on this as we're going along. I'm looking for the sandpaper that we got.
You can put that
given.
as well in. That's where, this time yesterday,
Here we are.
that's where that one was.
This was sent to us by the carver, this one. Oh, there we are. So that is that's the piece of wood that we took this particular spoon. That's how it started. So we cut a piece yesterday, and then we got our basic profile on the scroll saw, marked it all out on the wood, and then cut it out on the scroll saw, and then onto the hand carving. Yeah, I found this actually. This is sandpaper sent to us by the carver. I found this really good stuff, to be honest with you, because it gives you a nice smooth finish, and it does a good job, and it doesn't leave any marks, which is great for us, because we were having a few problems with the one type of sandpaper we had. Right, so again, just now add in little bits of detail. So we're just going to go round the sides, just like so. The difficulty when we're doing these bits of detail is we're actually going sort of across the grain a little bit there. It's unavoidable, but we go steadily, go gently. There's a little bit of detail we added on the other side for this one as well. And then I'm going to add detail to this one, just to finish it off, basically. That's what we're working on now, is adding bits of detail to finish off the carving. There we go. I'm going to sort that bit out, because I haven't done the best job on that particular one, but let's try and get it right on this one. So not a big deal. If you don't get it quite right, we just go back over it a little bit, just reshape that. I managed to do 2 cuts, and we only want the one. That's it. Let's clean that up, clean that cut, so we've only got 1 line as opposed to what we currently got, which is 2. And what do you reckon? Yeah, just a little line down the centre there. So we are, we've got our different levels, we smoothed it all out. And that's, again, sticking to our methods in regards to concentrating on what you would be most, not specifically worried about, but the thing that you're going to have to concentrate and put most of your focus on and your time and attention, just basically because it's something that we're not carving too often. Now, as Dad mentioned, I tend to go a little bit deeper than he does when it comes to the twist on the stem, and that means that you have, you know, it just gives it a bit of extra depth on the twist. Brilliant. But that's why then I have a thicker piece of wood, so we've got plenty of strength. So whenever we're doing our spoons, that's what we're always thinking of, is that strength in the carving.
Yeah, we're seeing quite a few spoons.
We're seeing more and more love spoons where there doesn't seem to be a lot of attention given to actually having strength. More and more spoons that lack a bit of being practical, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, these spoons.
They're not
bearing
going
in
to.
mind, this is a 17th century Welsh tradition. Some of the spoons that are kept at the Welsh Folk Museum date back, you know, what is it, 300 years, isn't it? Over 300 years.
That's right. Yeah, 350 years.
Yeah. So, you know, some of them are delicate, but you know, you want the spoon to be.
Well, there's something in your carvings and things like that is to think about them being robust enough.
Yeah.
Bring it later. I could copy and paste a definite brilliant. But a search will give you best visual example. Yeah, definitely. Hopefully the sandpaper won't have. No, it's really fair play. It's really good. The sandpaper's done a great job.
You want it to look right. It's fine to look delicate, but you know, you can be a little bit too.
You always got to think with these things, because we're making spoons for all sorts of different people. You have to. We try our best to anticipate any potential issues and problems, don't we?
How many of your holding points are on that particular flower?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have done that already.
So no, we haven't done that. So to give you an idea, when we're designing things like this, what Dad's referring to, we have the flower.
What with that, see?
Yeah. So we got the flower. It's held to the surround on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. Yeah. And the reason for that, the more points that you can have it connected to, the more strength you can actually get then into the work that you're doing. So we're always thinking as much as we can about practical things. When we're designing, you're not just thinking, I'll put that there, I'll put that there, I'll put that there. There's a sort of process that you go to. So for instance, because this is for a couple, you've got the two flowers, the lotus and the rose. In some ways, it might be nice to have the two flowers side by side. What's the problem in doing it? You've now got a very wide spoon. Yeah. So practically, it doesn't work. So for instance, we've done other love spoons with, say, for instance, a daffodil and a rose, and we do a different style of rose and a certain style of daffodil, and you can get them side by side. We've had requests for things like the dragon alongside something else. Well, it's a standalone symbol in terms of the width. So whilst it may seem that, you know, designs and things like that, it's sort of random, there's a whole thought process that goes into it, and that's what we encourage people, is to design things that are practical in terms of lasting over a longer period of time.
How's the oak cutting, Jim?
Well, this particular piece, I found this one a little bit harder than the other one, a little bit more physical than the other one that you gave me.
Even though the chisels are...
Even though, yeah, it's a few degrees more demanding. Because is it a different plank?
I think so, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's just a little bit more demanding when it comes to the carving than the other one. Having said that, as I'm carving it, right, there we are. So it's that heaviness, yeah, it's just a bit more dense. Having said that, as I'm carving it, it has got some lovely character in the grain. I'm starting to see like the medullary ray coming through and the character in the grain. So it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? There's pluses and minuses as we're working in it. But yeah, I can see, like for instance, just as I'm carving there, we're just going through a knot. And of course, knots always a little bit more demanding as we're carving them. Generally speaking, see, it's only a small knot. You can just see it coming out on the back there. But it is a little bit more demanding than the other piece that we had. So just finishing off this twist on the stem.
Again, emphasize, you could use the mallet there, you see.
You can do, yeah.
Using the mallet.
Yeah. As myself, I do it in a style that suits me. I always, when I'm working, the times you'll see me working with the mallet is generally with slightly smaller gouges. Yeah. Because if I hit this with the mallet, I'm always a bit nervous myself about splitting what I hit, because I tend to hit a little bit harder. So I would be a bit nervous there. So I'd rather just use the hand pressure, just to avoid having any issues with it. Just to go through as well, some of the other things that we've been working on. We've still got things like the Doll's House video, that's coming up. I've also done a few more toys on the scroll saw. So any of you scroll sawers interested in what we're up to, we've done a video on that. That was good fun. Although my son, he's requesting a tank. But that's going to take some working out to do that, because not the easiest thing to make.
The tracking, isn't it? What do you call
It's
it?
the caterpillar type wheels, isn't it? That's the all possible, but a standalone project and a bit demanding, a little bit complicated. So you can see we're just building up that twist now, and as we cut away that paper drawing, you just reveal that beautiful grain underneath. I'm starting to get hot now. I'm sweating, so that's take the jacket off. And also as well, we seem to be having crazy weather where it seems to be going winter, spring, autumn, and summer all in one day.
It's a late.
It's definitely a late spring here.
Yeah.
So same again on this one. We're just building up that twist. So you can see we do it sort of in a few stages, where you do the stop cuts, then you give it that little bit of depth. What I'm finding with this piece of oak as well, I'm finding it a bit patchy.
Right.
So there you go. Any thoughts on how Thomas would carve? What do I mean by that?
Well, presumably, one minute you're finding a soft bit, and the next minute you're finding a hard bit.
Spot on, yeah. So for instance, when I was carving, it stands to reason, I mean, because there's a knot there. When I was carving down here, that seemed to be giving me a lot of resistance. Yeah. And I just carved that one there, and it's about half the resistance. Yeah. So... Well,
you think, the tree would have grown, that would have been a little branch coming out of there.
That's the branch coming out of there.
Yeah.
So we soften that bit up. Yeah. So we're just going to shape that just in like so. And the next thing we're going to go on to is our rose. Something we've carved a few different times. Now the rose, again, what I do when I'm designing something like this, we sort of adapt and change as we're going along. Did I miss anything? No. So the rose, quite often with our standard symbols that we do on a regular basis, because we're right next door to England, the rose is a symbol that's very popular and something that we do often on the Lovespoons. And quite often with the symbols that we do regularly, we can adapt them to cater for the symbols that we don't do so often. So in this case, the rose that I'm doing is slightly larger to balance out with the lotus, as opposed to doing it the other way around. So it's amazing how often, really, we do that in our work. So when we put in initials, quite often I will do, say, for instance, a J or an S first, and then the other initial, I will adjust the size of them to match up. So it's just little tricks and things that we use, just simple methods we use to try and keep everything nicely balanced. And we're just shaping, beveling the edge, and afterwards all of this we'll go back over and sand it all. It is definitely a piece of wood that I would describe as patchy. Because one minute you'll hit a spot and it'll carve beautifully, and then the next minute you're pushing twice as hard. So I think what we do, we're going to work from bottom to top. So we'll go on to the rose, I think, last of all. So we're going to have the heart side by side. So again, stop cut, cutting down into the wood. Use that stop cut as a barrier.
I'm going back to the jigsaw now.
Thomas the woodcarver's off. He's seen enough. He's seen enough. So we're just using that as a stop cut, cutting down into the wood, using it as a barrier.
That's a little bit softer, that one.
Oh, here we go. This is another this one here. This is going out to this is going to be going out to Madrid. This one. So that's another design that we're working on.
That's a much softer piece of timber.
It is, yeah. That one's going to be a bit of an easier piece of wood. Also good for you to see, and good examples in terms of you can't anticipate and you can't predict a piece of wood. I learned that early on, so don't expect a piece of wood to do a particular thing, because it won't. Always remember when I was younger saying to Dad, oh, I'm going to carve this in 20 minutes. And he said, go on then. And 40 minutes later, I was still cutting lead shot out of it. So that's a case of learning the hard way. Because you just never know what you're going to be dealing with when it comes to your carving. But all in all, yeah, we like working in the oak all in all because it's a pretty reliable timber. It can be a little bit more physical than some of the others, but it suits myself and it suits the work that we do. My personal favourite when it comes to is reclaiming it and recycling it from old furniture, and that's not just for the sort of environmental and ecological reasons. It's also because a lot of that wood carves better. So let's have a little look. So I'm just looking on the other side. So I'm going to shape that like that, and we just want it roughly the same distance. So we're just making little judgments on that. Are they roughly the same distance? My initial thoughts is, yeah, they're there or thereabouts. So we work the other way, just to finish off where we've gone on this twist. So afterwards, all of this will be sanded to get a nice smooth twist. Sometimes you just catch it there with the gouge, so just take it out if you do. Same back this way. Shaping it as you go. And we're working on this one now. Our thoughts are sort of turning towards working from bottom to top to get the job done. Now I know I had, yeah, we got these little bits here. So these little bits here just left over. It's just where the grain starts to go in the opposite direction. So we're going to work, I know I'm carving towards myself, but it's just where we get to that sort of critical point where the grain starts running in the opposite direction. And it's a bit 50-50 whether you carve the one way or the other way. Let's just finish that off. Tops of the hearts, we're going to select a curved gouge. I've lost my mallet. I'm going to have to use the heavy mallet, which is never the good thing with me. So just across the top to get those shapes. And the same again on this side. So whatever we do on the one side, you match it up on the other side. And we will do just going round where the stop cuts are going to be. So it'll be the same sort of format where all of this will be dropped back. The reason for that, we want to bring those flowers out in the design. So same again on the other side. Just getting that stop cut in like so. And as Dad was referring to it, you can see how many points, thinking practically to give it plenty of strength. So the rose is attached at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points again. So it just gives it that extra strength if it's attached to a number of different points. Otherwise you can get delicate. We also get asked by carvers for why we put things inside a framework, and it's basically to protect them. So you know, if we're doing, for instance, like we do a spoon with a unicorn and a cat and stuff like that, and you've got two choices. You either just leave them as standalone symbols, or you put them inside a framework. And the reason we like to put things inside a framework is it gives it extra strength, and it protects it. Protects it from getting damaged, and it protects the, if you've got any points, like for instance a unicorn, you've got the horn, and so I think they refer to it as a horn. If you leave it open, it's vulnerable then to getting snapped off. So our preference is just put it inside a framework. So for instance, if this wasn't inside a framework, some of these points would be vulnerable to getting broken off. So that's why we put it inside a surround to protect it. And then with this one in particular, the Lotus, these bits here, if they were inside a framework, they would be particularly vulnerable to getting broken. So that's a lot of what we're sort of trying to explain. That's a lot of what we're explaining to you, is to think about your designing, think about how you go about things, and try and anticipate anything that could cause an issue and a problem in the future. Because as Dad was referring to, Lovespoons, they last. Hello, hello, Marcos. Great to have you with us from Brazil. Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. As Dad was referring to, Lovespoons, you know, there are Lovespoons that have lasted for hundreds of years. And so if you can make your spoons where they have that strength, they got a better chance of doing the same thing. Right, so we're just getting that angle. We go back over that stop cut. The disadvantage of the way that I carve is because I take off more wood, all the wood that you'll sort of take it off reduces the strength a little bit. The advantage of it is that it brings out the symbols more, so you get more depth to your actual carving. So when Dad refers to the fact that he wouldn't go as deep on the different things, it's a personal thing. What I sort of suggest to anybody who's learning to carve, find whatever suits yourself best. But one thing we always encourage is have a go. Have a go at carving. Great fun, great process to get involved with. Right, so again, I'm going to bevel these edges. So just shaping the heart. We just do a little bit to shape on the inside, so we don't completely separate them. But again, we bevel them just to make them more sort of standalone. We keep them there side by side and just shape them a little bit. And the final carving on this one is going to be our rose. Let's have a little look where we've got to. Now, you can see just there, I've just caught with the gouge a little bit. So you just take that back out, increase the size of the stop cuts. Same again over this side. Just trying to get the two hearts at about the same level. Like so. And now the stop cuts, we're going to proceed on with our rose. So, for doing the rose, we start off in the centre. So we work on our centre, and the idea is all of the petals, they're going to fold in behind one another. So that's what we're aiming to do, is to create that effect of all of those petals just folding one behind another. So that's the idea behind it. So let's have a little look. The two gouges that I find really useful for doing this one are our Herring Brothers. This one here, it's only a couple of, probably about a centimetre, is it? About 10 millimetres in width. So a small gouge. And the other one that I find really useful for doing our rows is this one here. So probably about, yeah, just under double the width. And I find that that's a really effective tool for this job. So it's smaller gouges as opposed to the bigger ones. One of those things as well, if you're looking at gouges, we have a lot of vintage gouges and things like that, and generally speaking I find that they do a fantastic job. But there are a few different ones still around now that are making some good quality tools. So you can see we've got our stop cuts working out from the center, and this one here, we just basically work our way out. That's the process that I do a rose from, is to work out from our center. So you start off with the indent in the middle, and then you build up all of your stop cuts, and then afterwards we will use those stop cuts to be able to do that detail, to create the effect that the petals are going over and under one another, the same as they do in a rose. And when you're doing carvings like this, sometimes as well you'll decide to change things as you're going along. So on this one I'm using the guidelines, but sometimes you will decide that you want to change an angle or something like that because you think it would fit it better. And that's what you can do, just change the angle. So that one there, let's use that as an example. I'm just going to change the angle slightly. The reason for that, we can give it a bit more strength. So finishing off these stop cuts, working your way to the outside, and then afterwards we'll give it all of its depth and detail. Some of the different videos as well we've got coming up. We've got a few different ones to do with the scroll sawing, and we got a few on different methods and stuff like that that we use. Let us know as well if there's anything that you're interested in, or anything you'd like us to demonstrate, or anything that you'd like us to elaborate on. It is always an absolute pleasure to try and help anybody out in any way that we can. We're also now with the workshop, things are starting to open up, so we're starting to have a few people in the workshop, which is nice. Now I'm looking at this one, and I'm looking there, we haven't got a lot of wood there, so that may be something that I come back to. We'll see how that gets on, see if there's enough strength there for the petal to be at that angle, but we might have to change that one over a little bit. We've got Thomas the woodcarver back with us. Have you come to give us a song?
Oh dear me.
He's
yawning
away here, he was. So we have a tired Thomas the woodcarver. There we are. So you can see that marks out all of those stop cuts. So we've got all of those marked out, and now what we can do from there, we can use those stop cuts to cut into, and it creates that effect of those petals just going in behind one another. As I'm carving it straight away, this was the little bit that I was a bit concerned of, have we got enough wood there for it to hold up? So far that's holding up absolutely fine. So that seems to be okay, which is good. Famous last words. Did you bring me some shellac? Did we have some shellac there?
Shellac is here.
Good.
Ready and waiting.
Brilliant. So this particular job only actually came in to us on the weekend, and it was needed for tomorrow, wasn't it? So
we wouldn't normally
do that, but
it's a job like this, but
it was a special, so
it was for somebody that
yeah, that's right.
Needed it, and
because our current turnaround of spoons is a lot longer.
Yeah.
that this was helping somebody who'd
Well, as I say, it's weddings that are suddenly
cropping up.
That people didn't realise. Well, I mean, some of them have postponed their weddings for 12 months.
That's right. So you can see we're just taking away, getting that depth. And so that's what we're going to do. So with the stop cuts, we're working from the inside, sorry. We start off in the middle and we work our way out to the outside petals. When we're doing then the flower, we're basically, when we're doing then the carving or getting our depth, we're doing it in reverse. So we're working on the outside petals and we're working our way to the inside. But there's different methods you can use and you can find whatever really suits yourself. So we're just creating that effect. This was the little bit here that I was just a bit concerned of, but that's holding up, no problem at all. So we're just working our way into the centre. Just like so. Turn it round and do the outside petals.
Oh, the sun is shining.
We've got the sun shining on our spoon now. So I'm racing against the sun now, because once that comes across, you won't be able to see much.
I can put a canopy up if you want me to.
No. I got to work faster, that's all. So as you can see, we're just working our way into the centre, just building up those different layers. And there's two different types of rose that we use. I mentioned that if we do it sort of side by side with the daffodil, we use a slightly modified version of a rose. So same again with this petal here. There we are. Just working now with this one, because it's on the side, I'm just gonna have to carve a little bit the other way, which I know I shouldn't do, but we are, just to get that. It's just so I'm always working with the grain as much as possible. I think we're going to turn it around again. And it's that simple process of taking away the waste wood you don't want until you free it inside.
That's not important, that thing that fell off there then, is it?
Well, there's me and Thomas Woodcarver both looking at the cable at the same time, thinking, what's just fallen out? But it's not, we don't need that, that's not plugged in at the moment. It's that moment when you're thinking, hang on, have we just been cut off? Because a cable fell on the floor. There we are. Now it's the same again, we got just to bevel these edges around the heart. So we're very much now into the finishing stages of our carving. So we're just going to take a little bit of wood just to change the depth of that bevel around the outside. On the other side as well, just adding a little bit of extra depth just to shape it just a little bit. We've got names that we're going to be carving on here as well, so we don't want to take too much off because I don't know how long the names are.
For anybody that's not familiar with the Lovespoon as well, Dave, I mean, you know, when that is finished now and completed, and they obviously receive, it's a super way to sort of record and commemorate a wedding.
It is, yeah.
Or any other.
Well, that's why the tradition is so, you know, it's as
you're
popular.
bringing two people together on the spoon.
Yeah, that's right.
We might even put a date on the back. You'll have the names on the front, and they can put that on the wall. And it's
my only little concern is that I know that this Lovespoon is somebody, and the one thing that they do ask for is the carving of congratulations in Welsh.
Yeah.
So that's a fun one. I'll ask that to everyone. Do you know how to say congratulations in Welsh? Does anybody know that one?
Well, that would be interesting.
There you go. And if you do know how to say it, can you pronounce it correctly? Because it's...
Is Marcos Vital? Hello, hugs from Brazil.
Yeah, great to have you with us. So there we are. Congratulations in Welsh. Does anyone know how it is said? There's one for you to all have a think on. I think we leave that one. We leave that one run. I don't think we, because that's one. As I said, that I know that the person we're doing this for, a couple of times they've asked us to put that on the back of it. Put it this way, it makes.
Sometimes have to do it 3 times, don't we?
That's right.
Because we do the Spanish one as well.
We've done Spanish, we've done Welsh, we've done English. Yeah. Put it this way, it makes congratulations look like a short word, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what I'm doing now...
The carver says nope.
Or we leave that run, see if anyone can get that one.
Yeah.
So we're just taking, now we're just shaping, just back the other way, just the outside edge of the petals. So just shaping that outside edge, just like so.
Somebody's probably looking at the Welsh dictionary now.
Or they'd be on Google checking that one.
That's right.
There we are. We leave that open because anybody who's watching this after, let's see if anybody gets it. What is congratulations in Welsh? Now you're singing a classic Cliff Richard song there, and
Cliff did a little bit better, didn't he?
He sang it in Spanish as well, did Cliff?
Yeah, but he did a bit better in the Eurovision Song Contest than the.
Oh yeah, than they did this year.
The latest attempt.
Yeah, we had another nil point. There we are. So you can see we just shaped all of those petals, just a little bit of detail, and then to finish it off, I'm going to use the sandpaper sent by the carver again, just to give us a smoother finish. I got to take this paper off the centre. Here we are, just carve that away. And if I just do the bit at the top, I think we're pretty much there, aren't we? Now I'm very tempted with this one, Thomas the Woodcarver, as we're still waiting on that congratulations in Welsh. What if I hand this over to you? I'm just going to carve the top. If I do a little bit of work on that one, so I'm going to do a different demonstration, and I'm going to hand it to Thomas the Woodcarver, and he can take it in the back for us, and you can see a bit better this week. You can see a little bit better what the Lovespoon is going to look like when it's finished.
I'll just take the paper off.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
With the coarse sandpaper.
Yeah, brilliant. It's just so we can have a coat of shellac on there for everyone to see.
Well, and then,
that's great. So all we got left in terms of carving, just taking out a little bit of the wood.
There is a little drawback with putting the drawing on, gluing the paper on.
Yeah, there is.
Apart from it, obviously, it will blunt the chisel a little bit more because you're cutting in paper, but it also clogs the sanding machine up.
That's right, it just clogs the belts a bit.
So we use a coarse one to get the sandpaper off. And
unfortunately, though, it's part of it.
The carver.
Holy cow! I think somebody's just seen the Welsh version of congratulations. Not a word for the faint-hearted.
Well, Wales does boast one of the, I think it's the second longest place name, isn't it, in the world?
That's right, yeah, it does. Are you going to tell us that the place name? The place name is...
Yes, it's the carver. He comes up. Do you want me to tell you there?
Yeah, you got it.
Llongyfarchiadau.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Now there's a few stories with that one, because we put it on the one love spoon the one year, well the year I got married, and we put that on the spoon and we went and spelt it wrong. We spelt it, because we spelt it as we say it, llongyfarchiadau, and we put DAI instead of DAU.
But that was I had that, it was a...
But I'm Die Lovespoon, see, so...
Yeah, it was a...
So Thomas the Woodcarver said he did it on purpose.
Yeah, it was a clever twist, it was.
You reckon he meant to do it? And are you going to tell us, Thomas the Woodcarver, the longest place name?
Oh dear me.
Llanfair.
Llanfair, Pwll Gwyngill, Go Gerich, Dwin Drobill, Llantysilio, Go Go Go.
There you go.
Everybody remembers the last bit. Go,
Remember the Go Go Go. So there we are, that's the longest place name here in Wales. Check it on Google if you don't believe us on that one. Charge per Spot on.
Like it.
We'll have to do that. Charge per letter for llongyfarchiadau. Yeah, thankfully we don't have to do that one too often.
Sure you don't mean to put the canopy up for the stop the sun?
No, we'd be fine.
Okay.
We just about miss it yet. So what I'm going to do then, we give that to Thomas the Woodcarver. You go and do take the paper off, and
we put the first coat of shellac on.
we put the coat of shellac so you can see. And that's a bespoke carving, pretty much from start to finish. We've got a little bit of work because we'll take the sharp edges then off the back.
And there's work on the bowl as well.
We've got the bowl, we've got the sanding. Yeah, a few different stages, but gives you an idea. I'm being fussy now, but I like the... I'm being fussy, I just want to shape that just a little bit more. There you go. Just like so. Just like so. There we are. I'll hand that one over.
Cheers.
Right, so whilst Thomas Woodcarver's doing that, this is another love spoon that we're working on. And as you can see, teddy bear design. We've got it in juniper. And the reason we got it in juniper is it's going to be going out to Madrid eventually, this one. And so the wood is from La Mancha in central Spain. So it grew in La Mancha. We turned it into a love spoon in Wales, and we're going to send it back out to Madrid. I just check, hopefully, oh, it is shining a bit on there. If I just pull it back a little bit, here we are. I tell you what I'm going to do. There we are. That'll help. If I sit by there, carve at a bit of an angle. It's just to protect the, so it's not shining too much, so you can see it a little bit better. So same processes, you're just doing your stop cuts down into the wood. And the start of this process, you get your image of your teddy bear, one that you think is suitable, one that you like. Transfer that drawing round it, and then we go from there. So for the eyes, they're quite round sort of eyes. Just doing those stop cuts. And we've done a few different teddy bear designs over the years. I've got a video coming up where we use a teddy bear design in a slightly different way again. So we try and get those eyes nice and symmetrical. It's basically a design that we felt was appropriate for a newborn baby. And we got the nose as well. There we are, that sun's gone behind a cloud. So I can come back to my original position. Yep. Carving blocks falling out. And straight away, when we're working on this one, you just notice that significant difference in the hardness of the wood. This is a lot softer than the other wood that we were carving. So it's just a softer piece of wood that we're working in. I'm going to go for a slightly tighter angle for the heart. Like so. And what we're going to have, when this one is finished, we're going to have nice contrast between the heartwood and the sapwood. So we're going to have that beautiful, beautiful contrast. So let's have a little look. Yeah, slightly different angle for this one. But this is the great thing, as Dad was saying, when it comes to the Lovespoon, you've got so few rules and regs, you can use all sorts of different symbols, different ideas, and away you go, carving all sorts of different things. And recording different occasions, and there's so many ways that you can use it. I'm looking at that when I'm just deciding whether to, I think I may actually drop the eyes down further, so to drop the level, just bevel a little bit around the edges, and then afterwards I'll use a different gouge just to drop the eyes further, so that the eyes are going to be on a lower level. Let's have a little look what we can do. You're going to go over them and drop the eyes down. So all of the processes with same simple ideas where we're using those different levels, the different depths. I'm building up that sort of picture as we go. So we bevel the edges, and the nice part with this one is the perfume that you get on it as you're working. There we go. Shaping it as we go. Just like so. So we're using different shapes and different sizes of gouge, all to create that effect that we want. I'm going to curl the mouth up just a little bit more because he's a happy teddy bear. And the same the other side, just like so. No, I think we're going to use our full stopper to have our bear just looking over. Oh, I tell you what we can do. We've got a small gouge. We have a small gouge, so our teddy bear is going to be looking just off to the one side. One like that. And then the same. So he's just looking over to the one side. Yeah, I like it. Let's have a little look at those ears. And we'll do the same again. We'll end up going over everything to get the different levels in the carving that we want. I think Thomas the woodcarver's on his way back. You got the spoon there.
Yep.
So we put it in the vise, so everyone will be able to see.
Okay.
Want to swap over?
Yeah, still a bit of work on it though.
Oh yeah.
All the back's got to be done, and
Yeah.
There's still a few bits to go over on the front.
But a few little rough areas, that sort of thing, that needs sorting out, but we can show everybody.
So the teddy bears.
So the teddy bear is now taking shape. Yeah.
I pass you the spoon, the brush, the shellac.
Brilliant. So I'm just gonna, I can't leave it like that, see, I got to finish off just a little bit. There we are. So hopefully you can see then, that's the start of carving out our teddy bear. Right, yeah, we got the spoon back. So, for instance, we're going to have to sand out all of this, smooth it all down afterwards. But let's just put a little bit of shellac on the brush. So I generally start off on the sides, like so. Just putting a little bit of shellac. It's always a balance with the shellac of getting enough on it and trying not to put too much on, which I've probably done. So you try and get it as well in all of those little gaps, that sort of thing. Try and get as much onto it. As you can see, you're working with the grain as much as you possibly can. And any runs, if you can try and catch any runs, otherwise you can end up with a bit of a streak.
And as per usual, Dave does it completely the opposite way to mine. I always do the front first, Dave did the back first. Typical.
That's
However,
the beauty of it, isn't it?
I just learned something, because if you do the back first, then you're going to probably stop some of the runs that you get with the shellac.
Well, I tell you, do you know how much thought I've put into the processes that I use?
None whatsoever.
None. So there you go. If you've learned something,
Yeah, I have,
if you've learned something, it's not because I know what I'm doing.
No.
Oh dear me.
Yeah.
So
can you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
When I put it on the front,
yeah,
sometimes the shellac seeps
through
to the back,
yeah,
and then it will run across the grain.
yeah.
It's a minor thing really, because it will eventually even up. But
yeah. The worst thing when working with shellac is you get a horrible run, and then it's not easy sometimes to get it out if you get a nasty run.
Doing the back first, if you do it as you did quite quickly,
which is generally what I do.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get a smaller brush now.
Yeah.
To finish it.
We've got to get in what I haven't done. We've got to get into all of those little gaps and things. But there we are. That's our spoon that we've been working on. Hopefully that's useful. Hopefully it's interesting. We'll be back midweek. What we've got to do from here, as you said, we've got to sand it all down, sand it all over. Dad's going to just use a smaller brush to get into all of these gaps. Our midweek upload, I'll be honest, off the top of my head, I'm not 100% on what we're going to do, but we're going to be uploading a video midweek as usual.
But I would say it's nice to be a part of that particular marriage.
Oh, it is. And that is nice. That is a nice thing with doing Love Spoons. Is that, I mean, for instance, we've had a couple in today. They were having a spoon for like a 50th wedding anniversary. This one is for a wedding. I'll hand it over to you there, and carry on carving. That one there is for a wedding. Another couple were coming in, and they're expecting the baby. So you know, they're thinking of a love spoon for that. This one here again for a baby. So that is a nice part of what we do, is to be involved in occasions and celebrating things. It's lovely for us to be able to play a small part in those different things. And what happens as well, with us being involved in the Love Spoon, we will have people, I'll just move around because that sun's coming across again. We will have people and they'll ask us, for instance, to do a Love Spoon for their engagement. And then they may have another Love Spoon for their wedding. And then as they have a family and things like that, they'll ask us to do other Love Spoons. So it's great to be able, and quite often people ask, oh, do you remember us? And thankfully, I'm usually pretty good at remembering spoons that I've made. So it's nice just to be able to play a small role, isn't it, in people's life story then, really, and recording that, helping them to record those special occasions and special events. There we are. As I said, any questions, anything you want to know, any thoughts, get them in the comments section. We'll do our best to answer anything that you may need any help with, or any thoughts. Yeah, let us know. It's always a pleasure to be able to help. We'll be back again next week with another live stream. I know we've got a few more spoons that we're going to be working on, so join us if you can. Thanks again for supporting us and supporting our YouTube channel. It's great to have you all involved in what we do. But there we are. Hope you all have a good week, and we'll be back again soon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you all.